Hi everyone, it's Lynnea, and I have a Sassy and Crafty project to share with you today. I'm using a couple products that really stood out to me. I have the Collecting Leaves Stencil and the Flutter by Butterfly stamp set. Both of these pair well together and they are super pretty. And when I saw this Collecting Leaves stencil, I immediately thought that I needed to make a rainbow of leaves background. So I'm taking my pixie spray. It's a temporary adhesive spray for stencils, and I sprayed the back of the stencil. Now, I definitely concentrated my spray on those fine lines of the leaves because that's where I really don't want my stencil to shift. I'm taking my brayer, and after I place that stencil onto my cardstock, I'm really going to use my brayer to press the stencil onto my cardstock so that none of those lines move. I'm taking some purple tape and masking off one individual leaf from the Collecting Leaves stencil. And I'm going to grab a rainbow of inks and start stenciling. You can use any inks that you have in your craft room for the stenciling. I happen to be using the Catherine Pooler Date Night ink collection. This is new to my craft room, and I thought that these colors would go perfectly to create a rainbow background. So for my background, all I'm doing is taking two colors of ink for each individual leaf that are going to blend well together. Most of the time, I'm taking two colors that are next to each other in the rainbow. So you saw me do purple on the bottom there and then blue on the top. And for next, I'm just going to remove my tape, give my stencil a quick wipe down. You do want to make sure that when you're masking, you wipe down your tape as well, because your tape may hold on to some ink. So give that a quick wipe, otherwise you'll end up pulling off some of the ink off of your tape onto your project. Then I use that same tape. I'm going to continue to use this tape all through my background until it is no longer sticky. I made it about halfway through before I had to switch out my tape, so it worked for probably about like 5 leaves. And then I'm just going to continue on blending. So for this one, I did like a hot pink magenta color at the bottom, and then that pretty orange at the top. Again, giving my stencil and my tape a quick wipe with a cloth, and then I'm just going to reposition that tape onto the next leaf and continue to ink blend. Here's the grand reveal. Check this out. It's exactly how I wanted it, except for the right-hand side. The way that I positioned the stencil on my cardstock, I have this kind of gap here. So it just so happens that the center of the leaf in the top right corner exactly lined up with the side of my cardstock. So it looked like I missed a whole place of stenciling. I didn't. It was just how I happened to place the stencil on the cardstock. That's totally okay though. I'm going to cover it up. And if I'm going to cover something up with a frame, I might as well turn it into a shaker card. So I have this reverse scalloped frame, and I'm just going to add some strong double-sided adhesive onto the back, and then place a piece of clear acetate over the top. The only problem with clear acetate is that it is super hard for me to see, so it took me a couple of tries to get it onto this frame, but once I do, I'm going to give it a good press and really adhere that on. Trim away any excess because I'm not perfect. I didn't get it perfectly lined up, even though I cut it to the exact size of my frame. I will just trim away any excess, and then I'm grabbing some foam tape. Here is the key to my shaker cards. I like to use extra thick foam tape. So this is about double the thickness of a regular foam tape. So if you have just regular foam tape, like Scotch or anything like that, you're going to want to double it up. Otherwise, your sequins are going to get stuck and they're not going to really move around. But if you have double-sided foam tape, or a rather double thick foam tape, that is a real time saver. You want to make sure that all corners of your shaker are touching so that none of your sequin bits can get out. And then here's my next tip for shaker cards. I'm taking an anti-static powder tool and running powder all over the inside edge of my foam tape. Foam tape is naturally sticky even on the sides, and so any of that stickiness is going to grab on and hold on to your shaker bits. So I use that powder tool so that they don't stick. I have some sparkling clear sequins here. I didn't want to take away from any of those background colors, so I went with clear sequins. I added them right onto my background, and then I'm going to seal it up with my frame. Now I mounded all of my sequins together in the middle of my card, so my shaker didn't want to go down flat, so I gave it a shake and all my bits came out. So I'm just gonna shove them back in there, and then I will put my frame down, and then I'll kind of give this a hard shake to break up that puddle of sequins in the middle. Check that out. It is super sparkly and really, really pretty with those clear sequins over that rainbow collecting leaves stencil background. Now let's work on my stamped image to go on the front of the card. I'm just going to use one butterfly from the Flutter by Butterfly stamp set, and I'm going to kind of hang it off the side of the card. You'll see that in the end, but I just loved this butterfly that's a side view. I'm going to stamp that butterfly with some Copic Safe ink, and I'm going to leave the stamp in my stamping platform after I stamp it. I'm going to be coloring with some yellow markers, and I find that whenever I color with yellow, my ink bleeds. I don't know if it's just me. It's probably the fact that the yellow markers have so much just alcohol in them that it makes the ink bleed. So I stamp once, and it's imperfect, it's light, it's not crisp black, but that's okay. I left my stamp in my platform, and once I'm done coloring, I can stamp over my coloring one more time and really darken up those black lines of the stamp. So my Copic combination today for yellow is Y38, Y19, Y08, and Y06. I have a couple favorite yellow combinations, but this one's a really pretty, like a golden yellow combination. I think that every butterfly should have some yellow in it. I just love yellow butterflies. So I kind of started with that and then built up from there. When I started coloring this butterfly, I had no idea what colors I was going to use and how I was going to color this, but I decided to just branch out from the yellow, and so blue I think pairs really well with yellow, so that's what I'm grabbing next. I have B04, B02, B01, and B00. And all of my coloring is pretty much the same for each of the color combinations. I start by picking a line or part of the image that I want to be in shadow. So for me, that's going to be the bottom edge of each of the sections of the butterfly. I will add a line of my darkest marker right on that bottom edge. And then from there, I will go to my dark medium color, and then my light medium color, and then my lightest color overall, and I will just blend all those colors together. I decided to add some green in here, so I'm using YG17, YG25, YG23, and YG21 for my green combination. And I'm just kind of alternating my colors. I have a couple areas of yellow. I knew that I wanted the main color of my butterfly to be yellow. So when I color, I usually pick 3 colors. One will be the primary, and then one will be the secondary, and the tertiary color will have the least areas of that color. So yellow, I have my biggest, largest areas are yellow, and then I have a little bit less blue, and then even less of the green marker areas. That's just the way that I like to do it. I could have just as easily rainbowed this whole butterfly, but I didn't want to take away from the rainbow of the background, so I thought that I would just pick a few colors from my background and highlight those and make them stand out a little bit more. I'm just going to finish up my coloring here. Again, nothing too fancy, just a dark, starting with dark and then going to my mediums and then my light. Now is the time when I'm going to darken up that outline. So before cutting this out, I am going to pop this back in my positioner. But before I do that, I'm going to grab my white gel pen, and I'm just going to add some little dots to each of the colored areas. I'm kind of doing 2 or 3 dots in each area and making a triangle pattern. Visual triangles are pleasing to the eye. So this is going to be a very subtle effect, but it's something that I've really enjoyed doing as of late. Once I have my white gel pen highlights on my butterfly, I'll put that right back in the corner of my Misty and stamp this again with a very dark black ink. And you're going to see the magic. Look at that. It just, those dark lines of that butterfly is absolutely gorgeous. I cut that out with my scissors, and I also stamped a sentiment onto a strip from the Flutter by Butterfly stamp set. I'm going to hang that off the left side of my card so as to not take away from that background, And don't worry, this will still fit into a 5x7 envelope, which is still regular postage. I just like having that butterfly hang off the side. I thought that it brought a little bit more interest to my card, and it's something that I haven't done in a long time. So I'm going to add some foam squares behind my butterfly as well as behind my sentiment strip, and just adhere that onto the left side, and then this card will be finished. I hope you guys love this super colorful background as much as I do, and that you picked up some tips and tricks for stamping and stenciling and ink blending and shaker cards along the way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye! Thank you again very much for watching this video. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more from me, please hit that subscribe button that is on the screen now. And here are a few other videos that I thought you might enjoy.